Hello, everyone. I'm Thor Gunderson, and welcome to Just Asking for a Friend, the show where we go throughout the collecting community and we meet collectors, artists, everyone out throughout the community, even people from the industry, what have you. As I said with the Carolina Hitman, there are certain days where I really enjoy doing these interviews, and today is definitely one of those days. This man's rise to fame came from the chat room of Open Mic, and I kid you not, that's where it started. And then over time, he just took over the chat, and he became a major part of the show every week. Then he got a partner in crime in Franco Carlissimo, and both of them just tore up the chat every week. And then we demanded that we meet this man in person, and one day we finally did, and he's been a big part of our lives ever since. I'm talking about none other than the one, the only, Archangel.
Thank you, man. No.
Welcome,
how long
man.
Ago was that?
Huh?
How long ago was that? When
man, that was I can't even remember. I'd have to go back and because I remember that it was on a after hours where you came on for the first time. But I want to say probably year 2 of the show, because I mean it was at least a good year that you were in the chat. And then like every week, and then Tim was like, "Man, we got to meet this dude." You know what I mean? And then you and Ryan used to get into it all the time. And I remember when you first came on, you were like, "Hello, Ryan." He was like, "Hey, Ark." So it's amazing how that show just created so many friendships and everything. And I think about it all the time. But welcome, my brother.
Thank you. And that's funny. It's like the way that you did the show. I'd kind of watched other shows, but never live. Never would comment. Just kind of watched in the shadows type thing. And I'd started watching your show, and it was just like, okay, I like this group of guys.
Yeah.
And then I would kind of like poke the bear.
Poke the bear.
Kind of mess with Tim a little bit. It was always I could kind of feed off of somebody's comments and kind of twist it, and it had a lot of fun. I think a lot of people probably considered me a troll.
Definitely not. I didn't.
It wasn't until I came on camera that people then knew I was a troll just based on my look. But yeah, the collection scenes. I remember because Tim I think had reached out to me also, and I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this, though, I'm going to do it right. So I went to, I think, Walmart or Best Buy, and I went and bought a camera. I bought a microphone. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be, semi-real.
Right.
Got it all hooked up. And then when I came on live, none of it worked. And I had to use my cell phone. And then I'd never done anything on my cell phone. So y'all were like, show the collection. And I was like, I don't know how to flip the screen.
Flip it over. Yeah. It's hard the first time you do it.
Oh, it was such a nightmare. I was just like, what am I doing?
We all go through it. Only technical difficulties and stuff,
It was all downhill from there.
It still was, man. And it's crazy because once it's like we had known you the whole time, like even from the chat, you know what I mean? And it was like seamless, and because our group is definitely different. Ain't no question about that.
Oh, 100%.
But what I like to start with is like tell folks like where you from, where you grew up, and then we slowly like get into how you got into pop culture, and then later on, how it transitioned into collecting and so forth.
Okay. Well, I'm from Alabama, as everybody that has ever seen me in a chat. I like to I try to do the jokes about the Alabama jokes before people can hit me up for it first, rather than who I'm married to, which she's not my sister. But as far as collecting, I was born in 87. So I'm kind of that 90s
Good
kid.
year.
That's when I was watching stuff. So I grew up watching the animated series, Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man, things like that. Watched a lot of Power Rangers, as much as people like to kind of make fun of me. I think everybody at some point did watch a little Power Rangers.
I did.
But yeah, that was my thing. I had a younger brother, so we would always dress up like Power Rangers and go back and forth. I kind of always when I would get my toys as a kid, when I was done playing with them, I would kind of put them up as a display. Like I didn't just throw them places. So I think that's kind of where my obsession started. It was always like if I had a Batmobile, I would try to position it away like it was in the Batcave. That way you could take it off. I remember saving up an allowance for the wrestling action figures. And I saved up weeks and weeks to finally get a wrestling ring. You know, I think it was when WWF was starting to get real big. So you had people switching over from the WCW to the WWF. So I was trying to collect figures. Me and my friends, we'd kind of put our figures together and pose them in like the wrestling. And I even had Gold Dust, which we've he came with this jacket with the fur on it and everything.
Oh yeah. I remember with the wig and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I always kind of think of that's kind of when I started collecting. Obviously, I had taken a break as I got older, got interested into the ladies, but then Indeed. Military life, and I kind of stayed away from collecting anything. I didn't even read comics as a kid. I mean, I struggled reading. I joke around all the time, but I really did struggle with reading. And I remember my mom, she got me, I think it was like 4 comics. It was Ninja Turtles, and it was in black and white. It was Batman comic, and I believe it was from Nightfall. And then I had one X-Men comic, and I believe it was the Jim Lee style or era. And then I had got a Superman one, and I didn't read them. I would just look at the pages,
the pictures, yeah.
But that was as far as my comics went. I think after that I got like a big Dr. Seuss book, and but did the military stuff, got out, had a kid, and I think that's kind of what reignited all this when we were trying to decorate his room. And I was like, let's do it all superhero stuff. Iron Man, I think, had come out. Hulk had already come out. So you kind of had a few things there, but I was trying to cover his room and all of this superhero stuff, comic stuff. But of course, as he got older, he phased out of it. I did not. So I think my brother for Christmas, he got me a bobblehead that was Yoda. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's got a lot of detail in it for it to be a bobblehead. And I started looking online. I was like, well, I can't just have one. So then I started finding like a Boba Fett to go with it, and a Darth Vader, a Chewbacca, even think R2. And from there, then I started going to the superheroes like Superman, Batman. So my first collection as an adult was all these bobbleheads. And then I was even collecting like the movie versions of them. So I had Man of Steel and then Iron Man Avengers. But it didn't stop there, unfortunately.
It usually doesn't.
But I always thought it was funny that it started with Star Wars, but it never really, I couldn't stay with that. But I started looking on Amazon for things that were toy-like that could replicate as like, a display type thing. I remember, like most people, I think, watching Cartel from Hell and seeing his backdrop, and I'd be like, who in their mind would spend this much money on these?
We all go through that phase.
And it was, I think, Christmas. I'd gotten an Amazon gift card from work, and I saw the modern age Sideshow Batman that I was like, hey, I've got a gift card for half of it. I said, I just want one. And I bought it. Saw it. I gave the shipper box. My kids saw that, and that's what they wanted. They wanted to draw on it and play in it like it was a clubhouse. So I didn't know anything about collecting. I gave my kids the shipper box. They destroyed it. But I had that one Batman statue, quarter scale, where I was just blown away, and it was quickly, well, I can't have just one. I need a companion piece. So then I went with Batwoman Sideshow. And then it got...
That's a great piece. I love that piece.
And they paired so nice because it was the blue with the purples, and she was like looking up at him.
So wait a minute, the Batman, is that the one that was on that he's standing on top of Arkham, or are you talking about the one before that, the original one?
The original one where he's standing on like the gargoyle. They made a black suit, and then the modern age was the variant.
Okay.
So yeah, I had where she was like looking up at him. I was like, this is so awesome. And that I think is the point when I had started putting statues down here, and I had all my bobbleheads set up, and I had the bank bust that are like $10 on Amazon of all the different characters building it, and I was like, well, I've got DC. I need Marvel now. So it was then I found somebody selling a Captain America and Red Skull. So I was like, they're already together. It's a deal. Couldn't afford not to. But that's where it all started. The two sides of doing Marvel and DC, and it escalated so fast,
as we can see.
Yes.
So, would you consider yourself more of a Marvel guy or a DC guy, especially since you call yourself Archangel?
I'm definitely more Marvel.
Me too.
And I've got a lot more Marvel. To me, they're just a lot more interesting. But it's collecting has made me go back to read the comics, and I kind of tried to start, the like original stuff that came out, all the Stan Lee stuff. So I would be reading it and kind of laugh and like, what? Fantastic Four, when they need to reach each other instead of, they didn't have cell phones or beepers or anything, shoot a flare in the sky and just hope that somebody's by their window.
Really?
Yeah. So I got into that, and Jerry, I would kind of joke with him back and forth about these comics, and then he'd like, or I'd say, so and so died, and he'd be like, what? No, they didn't. And he would just spoil every comic that I could read, just because he had read them all. But even reading the comics, I enjoy reading the Marvel stories too. So I've always just been drawn to that. But as a kid, I remember watching Batman Forever in theaters. I think that's the first superhero movie I remember watching in theaters. So it's kind of like it started in DC, but I've turned towards Marvel, especially X-Men. Really love X-Men. But whenever I joke around and tell people, hey, I've maxed out a credit card, sadly, it's not a joke.
It sure ain't.
And it doesn't help that, when I come on and watch you guys, when you do the shows and you have these awesome displays behind you, and talk about statues or show statues that I haven't seen that, because I wasn't in the Facebook groups or anything like that. So it was definitely, I was like, I'm doing fine. And then I see y'all and it's like, I'm not doing fine. This is a sickness.
And, I've had a lot of people say that, like, even Critical Master saying he didn't even, because I never wanted to join Facebook either. And, even before, we started the channel and everything, and he said he joined Facebook because of us, and he wanted to be in the open mic group and everything. So would you say is Archangel your favorite character, or is it Batman, or who is it?
It's funny how I love Archangel. If you read him in the comics where he's Angel, he cries a lot.
He does.
He's doing a lot of whining. He's their money guy, basically, like their bank. Like the bank, right. Professor X is like, the mansion's destroyed again. The bank won't give us any money, so they go to Angel, and he'll hook them up. But I started out with Archangel when I was in the military doing training. We had to do radio checks, and everybody before me would just do a basic like alpha check 1-2 type thing, and the instructor was getting annoyed with it. It's like, that's the best you guys can do. So when it came to me, I got up there and said Archangel 0407 radio check.
That is cool. I never knew that.
Ever since then, I have stuck with it. I mean, all my gamer tags on Xbox, PlayStation, mine's been Archangel, either Archangel or Archangel 0407.
Right.
So it's, when I had to create a YouTube, I was like, I know what I'm doing, Archangel, and kind of went with it. So that's why it's always been Archangel. But I have, like I said, I've loved it. I had a Sega Genesis with an X-Men game. And
I remember that.
Yeah,
it was it was arcade or something like that.
Well, there was one arcade where it was kind of like the Ninja Turtles team up thing where you would all four go, but this one you would be just one character, and you would start off in the Savage Lands and then go through all these different things.
I remember that.
But if you got in trouble, you could go up to your little screen and had all these little icons to save you that would pretty much kill everybody. And one of them was Archangel, and he would come flying back and forth across the screen and shoot people. And I always thought that was so cool. So he was always loved the way he looked. Always a big fan of him, for sure. That's where Archangel came from.
That is crazy. That's a cool origin story. I never knew that. One thing I like with him, I liked him more in X-Force than I did, like, because he was cool, especially the later versions of X-Force. You know what I mean? Not the ones with like Deadpool in the beginning, but like later on when it became like they all had like the black and red and gray and orange and everything.
Yeah, I'm still playing catch up on a lot of that. Okay. I haven't got to X-Force, but I am hopeful. Like I said, I'm reading Mutant Massacre. I was reading it earlier today, and it's where Angel's got his wings cut off, and Apocalypse keeps showing up in these different issues, saying, "Hey, I want you to be one of my my 4 horsemen." So, like, my wife called me on her lunch break, and I was like, "We're about there. I know what's going to happen. I know Apocalypse is going to show up to him and make him Archangel." So it's like I said, I'm playing catch up for sure, and starting off in the beginning instead of trying to hop around with X-Men. Like other comics, I'll kind of hop around different stories, but with X-Men, I'm trying to go from the beginning and read all the way through, which is very, very time consuming. And everybody's has all these moments. They're like X-Force. I heard a lot of good things. That's on the list. I've got Age of Apocalypse, and then New Mutants, and it's so much reading. And especially when I first started going on these shows, I felt like I was like, I'm not worthy. They're going to find out I'm a fraud, that I don't know enough about comics. No. And then you turn out it's not like that at all. I mean, it's really it's fun, and people really try not to point out all your flaws. Maybe that's what I do now.
But you know what? I find a lot of people who collect have not read comic books too heavy. You know what I mean? And it's just, at first they go for like the look, and then they may, like you said, maybe with cartoons or movies or something, and they just never really, especially a lot of younger folks, like 25 to 30ish, they've never really, because a lot of these stories you see in these movies are old comic book stories. You're talking from the 90s or the 80s or something like that. And straight with X-Force, my guy, I mean, I ain't giving away nothing. My dude was Phantom X. Like I loved Phantom X was cold. And then they got all these other dudes like from his crew and everything. So, because there was one issue where like somebody did, I won't tell you that because you ain't ready yet. But and then I remember I told you to read. I said, man, you need to read it. That the Nightfall when the Breaking of the Bat. Yeah, and he read it, and that was like, I know you didn't like the rest. I liked the part after that when Shiva was training him and everything, and she kept sending these dudes after him. And said, until you kill one of them, they're gonna keep coming. You know what I mean? And like I said, the end part where Jean Paul Valley comes back and gets Bane. It was all right, but you're right.
That part was okay. Yeah. What threw me off was when the 2 guys that are dressed up like cowboys when they made an appearance.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, it was like right after Batman's back is broken.
Okay.
Or maybe not right after his back's broken. Maybe it's the first time that Azrael kind of defeats Bane, and then it goes to these 2 guys in a train that are just like fighting each other, messing around a bunch of times, but it kept going to their story, and I was just like, why are we doing this? I kept trying to get through it to get to the part like you were talking about with the training and everything, but I was just like, oh my goodness, that one part it just would not go faster. But yeah, the comics there, they make me appreciate the statues more. And that's why I kind of preach to people saying, hey, try and read some of these comics. It's really, you're going to like the statue, and it's probably going to make you go get a couple more statues. But yeah, that's what I kind of always have, or I'm going back to the comics for sure, and really enjoying it. And what I do now is in between my pre-orders for statues, I'm real quick to order an omnibus. So that's kind of my in-between now, or as I slow down with my collection as space runs out. That's always the kind of fix. I'm afraid I'm going to start building an omnibus collection, and I don't have room for that either. So, and that adds up real quick with money. I mean, you buy 5 omnibus and you could have bought a statue.
I was about to say them things ain't cheap, and I gotta say we owe that to Jim because I used to be a snob about that. Like, I want the actual book. I don't want like trade kind of thing like an omnibus. But I gotta say, the omnibus make it really easy to catch up on stories. And now I'm like, because I've sold my collection during the pandemic and everything. So now I'm like, okay, I can do omnibuses. I don't really have a problem. But far as collecting goes, you're married, you have young children. Is collecting, how does collecting affect you and like family wise? Does it put a strain, or is it hard? Did you have to wait, be more patient with it, or how is it collecting with young children and family?
I'll say, I think when I first started, we had just our firstborn. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, yeah, we were setting up his room and everything. It was real easy because it was just basically me and my wife and this baby that doesn't require a whole lot. Right. I had my mother that would watch him while we go to work. So it's like, oh, piece of cake. And then, when you would see a lot of these channels of people's collections, it was older people. Mm. And I remember, watching these shows, they'd be like, I'm the youngest guy here. This is so weird. When we had our second child, I was like, oh, this is a little different because then we had to go to daycare. So it kind of slowed way down, or I would try and find deals. I wasn't doing pre-orders. I was basically searching eBay. But as those two got a little bit older, it got a little bit easier. My wife, of course, it got where I would order a statue on days when I know I would kind of have the shipping figured out, and it would be arriving on days when she was at work. I didn't want her to know. I didn't want to hear the speech. And it was, in the beginning especially, it was kind of such an obsession. And, the hunt was great and everything that, yeah, like I said, maxing out the credit card, I was making lots of bad decisions. My wife never really, had the talk saying, hey, you've got to stop this. You're out of control, which she should have. She was kind of enabling. I could, say something, oh, like, look at this deal. And she'd be like, oh, well, I guess you can't miss it. It's kind of sarcastically. And I'd like, that's a green light. But yeah, it got really out of hand money wise. I never went where my bills couldn't get paid. But there was a couple of times when it was like, I told my wife, I said, I think I've got to sell something. Just because this month, something happened, a car repair happened, or we needed new tires. We're just like, oh no, what are we going to do? And I would postpone payments when I was doing pre-orders. Like I learned really quick, you could postpone it 4 times before you had to either cancel it or keep paying.
Right.
But like I said, all my kids got fed, whether it be raw food or anything like that.
Right.
It was more, and like I said, it's not like I was trying to hide, the money situation with my wife. It was just we didn't talk about it. But I think deep down I knew, we're going to be in trouble if I keep going down this rabbit hole. But it basically didn't stop. It just slowed down till, something would happen. We would get a tax return. And I'd be like, we can breathe again. But I would get that tax return. And the first thing I would do when I had that money, I'd go searching for the next statue. I was like, I don't have to do payments. This isn't going to affect the payments and other stuff. I can just buy it straight up, get it in. And nobody would know. Nobody would care. Like, it wouldn't affect us because we got this nice wad of cash in from taxes.
Right.
But as I've gotten older, I still have credit card debt, but I'm paying it down. It's a little bit easier to breathe now, for sure. Now that my kids are, I've got only one of them now in daycare. So I'm counting down the days. I've got like a month left till he's completely out of daycare. And then I'm like, oh, all that money that was going to daycare, instead of paying off my debt where I bought other statues, I'm like, oh yeah, I can get a statue, this and that. But yeah, it's funny. Like when my kids were really young, they would be excited to come down here and see the statues and be like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. But now that they've gotten older, they kind of, they're just like, they don't have the same excitement.
Right.
Like I do, which you would think people would be like, oh, well, I want the same excitement as my kids. If they're not into it, I'm not into it. But no, I'm like, okay, just don't come down here. stay away.
I've noticed that with young people nowadays, because to me, things these days are too trendy. Like everything, MCU's hot, and then you got the Harry Potter people, and then, but then once it's over with, it's over with. It just, to me, it doesn't seem to stick with them like it stuck with us. Because now they got all this technology and all this other crap, and but with us, we had to deal with what we had. It was comic books and cartoons, and that was it for us, and it just, the stuff, I don't know. And now you see like comic book shops closing, and, and we could be a dying breed. I've thought about that for a long time,
Yeah. I mean, I really, that's what I've kind of preached before, these movies, how they kind of make them kid friendly. I think they should get away from it. They should make it more adults. Yes. I mean, make it R-rated, because it's us that are watching it. The kids, like you said, they're not really into it. It's Fortnite, Minecraft, video games type thing. I'm pretty sure if I were to tell my son to go outside and play, he would just, go up in a puff of cloud or a cloud of smoke or something like that, just from the sunlight hitting him. He's very anti going outdoors. It's all about video games. It's definitely a crazy time to watch the kids. Like I said, when we were children, it was, my mom would pretty much kick us out of the house and lock the door and say, don't come back until it starts to get dark.
Damn.
And that's how we did things.
Right.
But now, my kids, it's too hot out there. I'm like, it's 70 degrees. It's too hot. I had my oldest son, I had a statue come in, and he told me, he goes, stop wasting our money.
Stop.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
He did. I was like, what do you mean?
Oh my God.
Like,
yeah, right. Like let me see your W2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Basically, I started working 6 days a week to help kind of keep this hobby alive for me.
Right.
And my big thing is I work lots of overtime. When I was just working 5 days a week, my work week was basically 50 to 60 hours in that Monday through Friday. So then I bumped it up to Saturdays, and that's when things really got where I was like, okay, we're fine. My wife's like, I don't see you as much. I was like, yeah, but you had a good meal, right? We had steak for dinner. That's pretty good, right? So I don't know. I think they're all kind of probably waiting for me to get over the obsession.
Right.
But I think this is the one hobby that I'm really excited about. It's kind of like when you start talking about Star Wars and the passion, and then you've read some of the books and played the games. It's like some things are just, they stay with you. And sure. Like I said, I've jumped hobby to hobby, like the fish tank. It's a saltwater tank. It gets expensive, and it needs some attention now. All my corals got eaten by the fish. Because I didn't feed them a couple of days, and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to eat your friend. But that stuff gets priced too. And I couldn't imagine the guys that work on cars, that buy cars and do this hobby. That's got to be something else. But I'm going to keep doing this until I get banned from YouTube.
It might not be too far. But it's crazy you said it, because I always wanted a fish tank, but I never wanted to deal with the pH balance and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, I can't do this. I could. But I always liked them, but I just never, like, one time I was real close to buying one. I was like, nah, I just can't do it. So.
I do that. My fish tank, I do that like I do this hobby, where you got to fake it until you make it. Just pretend like you know what you're doing.
Right.
And just keep throwing stuff in. It's like, fish are still alive. We're doing good.
Now, piece wise, do you have any Prime One pieces or no?
I do. Yeah, I've got the Hush Superman, Miller bats. I just got the New 52 Wonder Woman.
Prime.
I think that was my last Prime piece in, and then I've got on pre-order the Green Lantern. I'm real excited about the Green Lantern Prime piece.
So what my point is, so you've had XM, Sideshow, Prime One, And who made the Hawkman? Is it that piece? Who makes the Iron Studios?
Yeah, Iron Studios.
Iron Studios. So like, far as company wise, like who do you think, for the most part, did you really gravitate more to, or was one of your more favorite companies?
Sideshow probably is my favorite. I mean, that's what I've got the most of, because it's always within reach. There were the lower price statues, and they did, they produce a lot of statues every year, and I got, all the characters pretty fast that I had loved, watching the cartoons like with X-Men, or even Batman anime series. So they're slowly starting to build that now. We've got, the Penguin shown. As far as, people go on and on about XM, saying, oh, they're the superior statue type thing, but they got misses too. The shipping on it is kind of what always made me not get as many of those, because you'd have to pay $300 to get it, and that was statue money.
Right.
Can't be spending shipping statue money.
That's what Rodney always said, and I said, dude, if I like it, I like it. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah. But Sideshow definitely is my go-to. Prime is really impressive. That 1/3, but that's kind of it. Almost, I think the 1/3s could have more flaws, but just strictly the size just draws you in and makes them something special, where you can overlook a lot of things. But yeah,
I've heard a lot of people say that that once you go pause, biggest that you can't go back or whatever. And I've seen them in person, and I was like, where am I gonna put these things? You know what I mean? And so I kind of went OCD, because I used to have Mythos stuff, but I said, I just want to go all 1/4. So I sold the Mythoses. And it clearly doesn't bother you to have different scales. I mean, in the collection.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I think it was a couple of years ago when I had got my first bust, and I was about to get into that. Yeah. I've seen people collecting their life-size bust. They'll have all the busts together, and I'm just like, you've just got a bunch of heads. That's strange to me. So I was again searching eBay, day and night, constantly on eBay, looking for a good deal of a character I like. And I saw that Joker bust, the one that looks like you say it's Steve Buscemi.
Oh no! Oh my God, Joe Pesci.
Yeah, Joe Pesci.
Joe
Pesci.
Yeah.
And it was so creepy looking, and it's hand sculpted. And I got it in because it was for such a good deal. I'd never seen a life size bust that price. So I was like, worst case, I don't like it, and I'll put it in my kids' room. But I got it in and was just blown away by it. And it was like just something switched. And I just started buying all these different busts. Like at first it was all life size. It's like, it's got to be life size. It's got to be life size. And as you can see, I like to put the bust in the middle with two statues to kind of complement it.
That's great.
And once I did that to one shelf, I was just like, that's the look. I like it. That is perfection to me. So I think I had finally paid off a credit card. I maxed out a credit card once I fell for the bust. Yeah. And the scales didn't really bother me. It's, the half scale busts, they do look better with, like a 1/6 or 1/5 statue. But, I've got enough of them now that I just want to bust on every statue or on every shelf. That's kind of where I'm going with. But yeah, the scales don't bother me. I've got some 1/5 scale, the Sideshow Comiquettes. I'll display them with the 1/4 scale next to it. And for the most part, like my Nightcrawler, it's 1/5, but it really is so big. It's almost like it's overscaled that it fits with the 1/4 scale. So yeah, the scales, they don't bother me. I will say, when we were talking about the 1/3s, they are impressive, and people, once you go big, you can't go back.
Pause.
I've never sold anything. I just couldn't imagine selling anything, but the 1/3s, at one point I had them behind my couch, and it was Hush Superman, Miller, Batman, and then the Hawkman statue. And I kept looking at it, just like, God, they're so big. Anytime I'd rearrange something, I hated moving them. I was always worried about breaking them. They're heavy. So it had got at a certain point where I was just like, I think I'm going to have to break down and finally sell a piece. And if I did, I think it's going to be the 1/3. So I'm a little bit different. You know, I can go big and then go back small and go big.
It's definitely not common.
But that was my 1/3. I want to do a 1/3 Justice League line.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of made me fall in love with them again, thinking, okay, well, they're not all going to match from the same storyline, but you know, they're different representations that I like that I think look cool. So I'm back excited to have those 1/3, which, yeah, they've got me searching on eBay for any 1/3 I can. Then they're like, no, you don't need this. That makes no sense. Stay away from that. So it's a battle. Like I said, obsession. I have moments where I'm real obsessive over it, and then I have other moments where I'm like, okay, I can breathe, I can calm down, and then you watch a YouTube video and you're just right back up there. Or, you know, something sets you off if they say, you know, if you don't do this, you're not a true collector, or you know.
I'm glad you said that. Because you've been known to be in other, you know, people's chats, and that you never said it with us, I don't think. But like you've been known to get on folks about, you know, people are doing, like, sometimes, you know, people are doing this for the subs or the money, or you're not a real collector. Like, you know, like, clear the air on that, because, you know, a lot of people, like, you get a bad rep sometimes, and you know, you might just misunderstood, you know. So
bad rep, you say. Yeah, and that I'm working on kind of how the way I present, you know, the way that I feel about things. And then people say I kind of flip flop back and forth. But for the most part, you know, anybody can collect. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a wrong way. I don't think there's, you know, when I say the true, or when you hear people say, you know, the true collector, it's based on ES is what matters and stuff. That kind of, you know, that rubs me the wrong way, because I consider myself a true collector. And I don't care about ES. I don't know what any of these statues, the ES is on them. And then you hear, you know, people, if you're going to buy the statue, you might as well go for the exclusive, just for the resale thing. Well, I don't buy with the intent to resell. I mean, this is kind of where I've had to learn to rethink the way I think, you know, I think things, because it got where the whole true collector, I'd be like, well, if you're buying for to sell, well, you're not a collector. And I would argue that. And then now I'm just like, well, yeah, they are. They just collect a different way. You know, when I get bored with my collection, I rearrange it, and then I see new life in people.
That's what Cartel said to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Some people, you know, they don't do that. When they get bored with it, they sell it and make room for the next one.
Right.
So that one's been something I think as I get older, I'm starting to understand that process of it a little bit more. Again, it's kind of strange to me, the whole selling thing. And I'm not shaming anybody that has sold. I mean, I haven't sold. That's on the other side of that. I'm terrified to sell, because I don't want somebody to get it broken and then they'll be like, all right, well, I'm sending it back to you. So it's like, I lost all that money and it's broken. So yeah, I know I come off wrong a lot of times.
No,
yeah,
it's your opinion.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, you can collect any way you want. Collect toenails. You're a collector. You collect toenails. That's what you're into.
Yeah.
And I know the whole, you know, doing the show for subs, you know, when you are doing YouTube, sometimes you put a lot of effort and work into it. So you want the rewards from the subs or the likes. You're wanting to build it. But then you say people are like, yeah, I do it for the community, and that's why I want these numbers. And I'm like, if you're doing it for the community, then why do you want that? Like, nobody reached out to you privately and said, hey, can you please do a YouTube show? Please do it. I mean, I know that's different now, Thor. I'm sure once DCX kind of went off, everybody was going to you saying, please come back, please come back. They
sure were.
But
they don't do that no more, though. But you know.
that was such a rare thing, what you had built, you know. And that's why a lot of the issues that I'm, you know, arguing with people back and forth, I'm trying not to argue, but it gets escalated at times,
Right.
is that I think DCX, it was just a group of people hanging out.
That's it.
We didn't, we didn't care. Well, I mean, even though we made fun of Ryan a lot for that giant printer in the corner, but that's what we joked around with each other. It wasn't, I got to get this because it's going to get a pretty penny. We just didn't talk about resale and what that was. But like I said, I get people wanting the rewards from the hobby, from doing their channel and stuff. But I don't know. I don't like seeing our hobby turned into a business.
Right.
And so many times you see that, they go to the top 2 very successful channels and they watch them and they say, that's my goal. So then they do the same exact thing and promote themselves the same type way. They don't understand that was kind of a right time, right moment.
It sure was. Yeah.
Now everybody and their mother's got a YouTube and that's great. Many different opinions. You can watch a YouTube show about statue collecting every day of the week. I think that's awesome. You don't like them, don't watch them. But I'm also, I don't see, everybody's got a YouTube, you got to do a Facebook. And when they do that Facebook, you'll go to some of these channels and all that's in that channel is the link to their show. Like there's no other conversations, no other, hey, this is what I got in.
And it's in everybody else's group too.
Yeah,
the links.
They'll post their link in theirs. They'll post it in everybody's, and everybody's in the same groups. So
exactly.
I'm very curious how much people if maybe they've looked at the numbers. I don't know if you can look at the numbers on how you get your subs, but if it's YouTube is just kind of recommending a video and they stumble across it and say, hey, I like these guys, I want to sub, or if it's really people on Facebook that are like, I'm so bored. Ooh, a link. Let me click on it. But like I say, people can do whatever they want. Collect how you want. Collect YouTube channels. Collect Facebook groups.
So do you consider yourself a YouTuber or no?
I've kind of got that thrown in my face during my arguments. I never really considered myself a YouTuber, but I guess that I am. I mean, I'm part of a group of guys that does a weekly show. So I've kind of become the thing that I was against, but even though I don't think so. It's funny though, because I'll say, YouTubers are hurting the hobby, but I watch everybody. I'm part of the problem. Like I'm giving them their numbers. I'm giving them their thumbs up. So I'm just, a walking contradiction here of everything.
No, I gotta say, man, like the past few shows I watched you host, I said, man, Ark is a really good host. Because you pull everybody in and you keep the conversation going. And I was like, wow, man, this is, and I love Jerry, but I love the show a lot more when you host it. You know what I mean? I ain't dissing Jerry nothing. I'm just, it's and that's when I put in our chat, I said, Ark, man, you're a great host, bro.
And it meant a lot. And I was kind of busy at the time. I didn't want to feel like I just kind of, like, oh, thanks, and then moved on. Like it, because I've learned a lot of things from watching how you host the show, and you make it so smooth, and you can point to people that if it seems like they're kind of uninterested in something in a topic, you'll kind of, well, what's your opinion on this? You'll kind of wake them up. So that's what I enjoy doing that aspect of it. But a lot of the guys they complain that I'll talk and it's always been I hate that once you get more than a couple of seconds of dead airtime,
right,
when you're just like, is anybody gonna say anything?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that sucks.
Yeah, especially I would do pictures and I only had one monitor, so when I would pull up pictures and share my screen, I couldn't see the panel. So I'd say, okay, what do you think?
That's what I used to go through.
Yeah. What do you think of this statue? And it'd be crickets. And I'd be like, did I freeze? Because
you never know. You never know. Yeah.
And I'm like, are you guys still there? Hello, Bueller. So now I've kind of gotten the habit of not giving the guys enough time, which I'm trying to work on that also. But like I said, it's no joke the amount of work that people do put in these channels. I always try to say, don't do the work, make it organic, and don't treat it like a job. But kind of got to prepare a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I guess me even saying all this, I'm a YouTuber. Hey, I'm Archangel, and I'm a YouTuber.
I gotta agree with you on this. Or at least, when I see folks, they get pieces in, and then next they say, here's the unboxing, and then the next they're selling it. And I was like, man, that's not really collecting, but I mean, I could kind of understand, because technology has changed, and now they got better paint jobs and stuff like that. So okay, I can see getting rid of something for that. Like if they got a better version and that one moves you more than the one you got, then okay, sell it, but it's just just turning around pieces. If that is true, you just turn around just so you can film them and being fresh, and then next some of them they just sell their whole collection. And I'm like, dude, why? Then you just say you just doing this for the channel, and that's it.
And when they do their review, they'll talk about how this is the best thing ever. It's never leaving my collection, and then next week I'm up for sale, never displayed.
Yeah.
But I think it's like what we were talking about with today's kids. It's constantly got to be entertained.
Yes.
So a pre-order comes out, they're all excited. Everybody's talking about it. It's what every YouTube channel is talking about, the hype. So they're like, I'm getting that for sure. And then you got to wait 6 months to a year. And that's the license piece. If you go custom, sometimes you got to wait 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when statue finally shows up, they don't really care about the character. They don't care about the piece. They got excited for the hype, and it died down. And then you'll see in their unboxings that hype kind of reignites, but that's only because everybody's getting in that piece.
Right.
And then, if they're not the first on YouTube, or maybe their unboxing didn't do so well, it's like, next, I need to sell this piece to fund my next piece to get in. But I mean, and like I said, I'm sure it's exciting to get in piece after piece and at least have it in hands. Because I think, it's hard to judge a statue if you haven't seen it in hand. Everybody takes pictures of their statues with their cell phone. I do that. I'm a terrible photographer. I wouldn't even call myself a photographer. I've asked Barb for input, like, how do you do this? And she's like, well, you got to stop using your flash. And I'll do one picture like, oh yeah, she's right. But then I'll get my next statues. Man, it's so dark.
Right.
On. and that's what, posted on YouTube saying, hey, I got this. And then people see that and like, oh, that doesn't look good in hand. It's washed out, this and that. So I'm going to pass on it. But yeah, so it would be nice to get every piece in hand and look at it. But that whole revolving door collection, I don't understand those type of collectors, unless they're chasing something or they think that they're doing it, a solid for the community. Saying, hey, you can't get this in, I'm going to get it in, and I'm going to show you close-ups, and that way it can make your decision if you want it. So it's two sides of the coin here. I see the negative of it, I see the positive. But if you don't like it, don't watch.
Right. Then everybody got to be the first one to unbox it and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And I don't know, but hey, whatever gets you through. That's what I say. So how do you feel about like collecting now? Like it's changed a lot since the pandemic showed up. Like prices. Like now we got quarter scale pieces $1,000. And shipping's gone up, and like now people like, I don't know if edition size matters to you or not, but now they're starting to come back to lower edition sizes. Like what they had that Poison Ivy, that was like $250, right, or something like that. And they haven't announced the Penguin yet, I don't think.
But, that's the collecting now with the edition sizes going lower. I think it's a temporary thing. Me, I'm definitely not an edition size guy. I don't think the number on the base changes the way that the statue looks at all. It's crazy. I mean, you do have those people that are excited for low editions because they can get it and it's worth more. That they can get it as soon as they get it and it sells out, they can sell it for way more than they paid for it. So that's always why edition size rubs me wrong. Like I would be so happy if all these statues, they did away with edition size. I think that would change the game completely. But there are, like I said, some people collect based on edition size. Some people, that's all that matters. But yeah, COVID has definitely changed things. I think it's not just in the hobby, but I think it's changed the way that people talk to each other.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's got this, I'm owed something. You heard people attacking. It seemed like every other week they were going after, the community would go after another company, saying that it's immoral what they're doing and they owe us this and that. And I'm like, they don't owe you anything.
They really don't.
They really don't. You're a business trying to make money.
Yes, sir.
But I think that's kind of changed. And I don't know if COVID, because everybody was home, that they're like, I'm going to start a new hobby. Statues look cool, and hopped on it. So, I mean, that's also why we're seeing a lot of these, somebody builds a collection and then the next day they say,
it's gone.
I don't like the way that shipping prices are going. So I'm out of the hobby. I'm selling everything. I mean, even me and Jerry said, because the shipping prices now, you're done. You're selling everything that you got. I mean, whereas the shipping high when you bought all these pieces, it's like, that's not going to change shipping. Selling your whole collection, I don't understand. The way that the prices are going. And if you go to eBay, pull up all these statues, you can see free shipping. So it's very weird. And because of COVID, that's also kind of the dawn of all these new YouTube channels. So it's, like I said, you can look at it as a positive. I think if you were collecting before COVID, before everybody kind of started this YouTube thing, you kind of have a different mindset of collecting. Things we always go back to the good old days.
Right.
So, I mean, I've gone back and watched some older stuff from Lou and Vic from Immortalizing Stone.
Yeah.
It's funny hearing them kind of go back and forth. I think at one point they even kind of talked about, XM shipping. So, I mean, it's some of the same things we kind of bicker about now, but it was just different conversations back then, I think. And it seemed more built on friendship back then. Now it's kind of, how can you help me today? How can you, make my channel grow or this or that?
Yes,
so
sir.
Definitely think it's kind of changed a bit. And I don't know if we can go back. I mean, obviously, Thor, you're bringing back D6, once a month type thing. And I can talk to people and they can go on and on about, I remember watching DCX back in the days and blah, 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 blah. But it's funny because they'll always talk about, they'll mention the OG people of DCX and they'll mention David. And it's like, David came kind of on the end of it.
Yeah, he did.
He knows his has all his knowledge and he's great to talk to and everything. I was like, you need to go back and watch some of the older stuff. Like I'm not an OG on DCX by any means.
You are. You can, like I said, you were the character in the chat. You know what I mean? It's just eventually, you came on, but yeah, you're an OG, brother. Believe me.
but yeah, like I said, I wish people kind of go back to see how it was such just a cool hangout type thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of more structured, and even ours is structured to a point that I wish it wasn't. But
I think people want that more now. I noticed with all these shows and everybody, because we literally had no subjects. Yeah. Like it was just, and I swear to people think I'm lying. There was no script. None of that stuff was planned. Like, and then that's why people say it seems so organic, because it was like stuff just happened, Yeah. And but we run a short of time. What piece? Like, are you looking for any pieces currently? And of course, the old age. If the house is on fire, which one would you grab? And like favorite piece type of thing.
So I say, as far as the hunt, for the longest time, it was the Thor life-size bus, and I searched for it years and years and years. I finally got it in. Found it for a steal. Was so happy with it. My other hunt that I'm constantly searching for a good deal is the Sideshow Abomination.
David has that piece.
Yeah. The blue short or blue undies, the Speedo stands out so much. But other than that piece has always been one of those where I was just like, oh, that is so awesome. And I'm a sucker for a big piece. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of, I'm always looking for older pieces. I'm more excited to get the older pieces in than a newer piece for whatever reason. Now, as far as if the house is on fire, that is why I had so many children. I'm getting them up. I said, we're going downstairs. You get this one. You get this one. You get this one. Oh, if I could only save one though, I
got my guess, but I'm gonna see what you say.
It's got a lot of meaning to me, and it's the XM Magic. So, and that one, I enjoy the character. I thought she was cool in New Mutants, that version of her. And then, of course, I'm reading the New Mutants comic, so I really like what she's doing, and it's really exciting. But that's from Collector Therapy.
I told myself I'd slow down on the statues. Golly, my girlfriend's gonna kill me. But I had to get Magic before Archangel.
That was a piece of his.
Oh, yeah.
So that one, it pulls at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
Even though most people out may think I have no emotions, my wife would say I don't have any emotions. That one means a lot to me. So if the house is on fire, I'm grabbing it. It'll probably be damaged because it's so fragile.
I get it.
But that's my one I'm running out with. So.
For those of y'all who don't know, we when we were doing open mic, we had Collector's Therapy, which is Chandler still up. He passed away, unfortunately, and it was so sudden, and nobody, it just shocked everybody. And him and Ark were really good friends. They would go back and forth in the chat, and it was hilarious, But
he was an oddball, but he could always anything.
He sure could.
At him, he could quick wit to turn it on, without a doubt. But yeah, not to make the whole show.
No, that's cool.
But yeah, that's my that's the one piece that I would definitely run out of the house with. Since I've got children, make them. My XM Archangel, it's one of my newer pieces, but everybody's joked around for so long saying it take you this long to get an Archangel. But I finally got
really there's not many Archangels, so
Yeah. But that would probably definitely have to go with me. And then, I don't know. Some of the other ones are too heavy. I might just say let them burn.
I was thinking Hawkman.
And
maybe.
See, everybody likes Hawkman because of so many people missed out on it. You know what I mean? And then so many showed up broken. So I think that's why everybody just goes bananas over Hawkman. I mean, it is an awesome statue. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
that was the first live unboxing I ever did.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I cheated and looked at it the night before, and it had a broken leg, and I was like, I gotta glue everything together. I gotta do this unboxing on DCX.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hawkman, it's a good one, but it's so heavy. I think I would end up getting caught in the house fire before I could get out with that one.
Real.
It's huge.
So you don't have any customs at all?
I've got. They're not like great customs like most people get, and spent this. Mine are customs that came. I don't even remember what group did them, but I got a custom Gambit and Colossus because when I got them, the Sideshow ones were so expensive in the secondary market. So I went with these, which one of them is pretty low quality. Like if you look at the heels of Gambit's boot, one of them's way bigger than the other. It's like he's got lifts in one of them. So it's pretty bad. But I got it. I was like, I gotta have Gambit. I need Gambit. So did that. This Mystique, it's got a custom portrait on it, and I bought the portrait before I ever found a Sideshow Mystique. I knew that was the portrait I wanted. That sold the piece for me. And then I've got a custom Beast bust and a Spider-Man bust that's also a custom. So I try to stay away from that just because you hear so many horror stories of people run away with money, and I think with customs you hear more of the negatives than the positive, just because people like to talk about the negatives. But yeah, I like to see what I'm getting beforehand or what I'm putting money towards, and I don't like to wait 2 years or a year to get a piece in. So that's kind of pushed me away from customs. But also the people that get into customs, it's almost like it's a drug too. You get hooked, and then you've got 20 pre-orders of customs that are spread all out, and they're like, oh, if I could just get out of the custom game, but they look awesome. But that's the banks won't give me another credit card, so I can't get.
Well, I think, as far as customs go, and then we got to wrap up here soon. Like, if most of it, like, I'm speaking from the Star Wars perspective because it's like 4 major Star Wars custom groups. They're pretty established. If you deal with like custom groups that's been around for a while, and there's certain ones that you see, people don't have too many problems with it all. But like if you get these, like now, I think nowadays it's better than it was like when we were doing these, DCX. Then to me, it was more of a gamble, and it's not as strange enough, it's not as secretive as it is. If you get in, it used to be, you got to be in the in crowd, like when like that group Franco used to sculpt for. Yeah, when he first started, like you definitely had to know somebody to get in that group, from what I understand. Because I don't collect X-Men stuff. But nowadays it's just, you are in, just, invite in and that's it. But
and also like with your Star Wars, I mean, there were so many characters that the license companies just didn't make. So you had to go that route. Like with Marvel and DC, I mean, for the most part, the license companies are going to make those characters. So I don't care to get, I don't need a custom Wolverine because the license companies won't show him with his claws sticking through somebody.
Right.
I can make do with a lesser quality or a museum pose that's not as exciting to some. So that's another thing. If I'd gone into Star Wars, I think then it would be more. I got to get into the customs games because also the aircraft, the different aircraft that's in Star Wars, that all looks so good and so tempting.
Yeah, they're being made now too. They definitely trying to put us out on the street. Well, look, man, I can't believe it's been an hour already, and I'm sure we could go on, for another hour, but unfortunately, the producers won't let us do it. But it's been great having you. It's been great having you. Tell them where they can find you, like Collective Minds and everything.
Yeah. So once a month, I could be on DCX with the old gang, having fun. Or Sundays is Collective Minds, where we hang out for a couple hours, show some pictures. I really enjoy doing the games aspect of it, trying to do trivia or draw something, which is real funny to see Jerry get frustrated and draw something really crazy and break the rules. And just hanging out, doing things, trying to do things different, but really it's not they're different. We're the same. We're a YouTube channel. But yeah, that's usually where I am, or people message me and talk and ask my opinions, and I'm happy to give it, happy to show pictures if I got it. But yeah, other than that, find me in the chat in any show.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, man, and we will definitely, this one of my crew, so I talk to him all the time and everything. But we will catch you all next time on Just Asking for a Friend. Thanks for watching, everybody. Later.